Since the beginning of military conflicts, we've been developing innovative ways of delivering lethal force.
Now the battle lines have become blurred, with civilian lives at stake.
It's a thinking man's game out there.
Today's soldier or police officer needs to be able to take a target down without taking him out.
What they need is an option of using force in a non-lethal way.
Designing a weapon to kill is simple. What's difficult is to use just enough force to surprise, stun, or stop a target in his tracks without taking his life.
You don't necessarily want to kill people if you don't have to.
A shot to kill can spark a riot. Doing nothing, not an option.
Put the knife down!
That's when less than lethal weapons make an impression.
I'm Mac, and this is Future Weapons.
In my 10 years with the Navy SEALs, I was trained to use some of the deadliest weapons on the planet. Now I'm exploring the very latest military technology designed specifically not to kill. Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri is one of the largest military training centers in the United States. It's also home to a primary Department of Defense school for non-lethal weapons.
Our ideal point of impact is right around the solar plexus, abdominal region. Any questions? No questions? All right.
This is where U.S. forces come to be trained in the use of a whole range of less than lethal options.
All right, brother, take me through this thing.
What we have here is an array of non-lethal weapons and non-lethal munitions that our students qualify with on range day.
Sergeant First Class Thomas Burke is the chief instructor for these types of weapons.
This is a standard Mossberg 500A2 pump shotgun. Nothing different than any other version. This isn't the non-lethal weapon. However, we have the non-lethal munitions that go with it. First off, we have the 12-gauge non-lethal fin stabilized round, and this is what the projectile looks like.
Typically used in hostile urban situations, blunt trauma rounds, also known as rubber bullets, they can be made from wood, foam, or even lead buckshot in a bag. They are primarily designed to cause maximum impact with minimal damage.
I bet this is gonna hurt when it hits.
Absolutely, you're talking 530 feet per second.
If you've ever been hit by a fastball, you know it's definitely gonna get your attention.
Well, that's exactly what a hit from a blunt trauma round feels like.
You have 5 rounds and a target at 30 meters.
And this flies pretty straight, huh?
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Point of impact.
That guy's gonna be upset.
Absolutely.
They may be classed as non-lethal, but these rounds are extremely dangerous if not used properly.
You're definitely not looking for headshots here.
No, absolutely not. Talking that sweet spot, breadbasket area, the thighs, the arms. You want to avoid head, neck, throat, and center chest.
Got it.
Accuracy is critical. The distance to the target is another vital consideration. Faced with a belligerent mob, the implication of using too much force means non-lethal rounds become essential. Even then, the distance to your intended target dramatically influences the effectiveness of these rounds.
There are two major challenges when you're dealing with blunt force trauma rounds. One, if you're too far away, I may not have enough kinetic energy when I hit you. Two, if you're too close, I may have too much kinetic energy and do massive damage.
What's needed is a blunt trauma weapon system that can deliver the same punch no matter what distance the target is.
That's why Beretta came up with this, the Less Than Lethal 7000.
What the LTL 7000 does is it comes up with a way to engage targets anywhere between 50 feet and 230 feet effectively.
Gabriel DePlano oversees new product development at Beretta, USA.
And therefore gives you, with one system, with one ammunition system, with one weapon system, the capability of hitting the target effectively within that range.
The secret lies in an innovative optical sight, which just uses 2 simple buttons to operate. The soldier matches the red dot to the height of the target seen through the scope. This quickly and accurately determines the amount of force needed. The weapon automatically uses the data from the sight to adjust a series of valves in the chamber, which bleed off more or less gas before the shot is fired. This directly affects the force of the impact, guaranteeing it stays less than lethal. Beretta calls this the constant kinetic energy system. So, when I switch from the near to the far target, I adjust the dots through the sight. This closes the valves so all the gas in the chamber is used to propel the round downrange. This gives it maximum kinetic energy.
Just like that.
Simple to operate, but no small engineering feat.
The very clever idea was trying to combine the position of these two red dots with a corresponding distance of a gas bleed-off system inside the barrel, and therefore give the user a very, very instinctive and easy way to accomplish all that by just pressing a button.
Coming up, it could mean the difference between life and death, so I put the LTL 7000 to the test. Then, I get to unleash the power of Taser. In this prototype design, Beretta claims to have invented a weapon that can deliver the same amount of non-lethal force to its target no matter what range it is. I can see for myself that hitting the target is no problem, even at maximum range. But how hard am I hitting it? That's what really matters. To find out for sure, we brought in an independent expert with over 15 years' experience in blunt trauma weapons research.
What we're basically interested in is what happens when these rounds hit the body.
Cynthia Burr is the Associate Professor of Biomedical Engineering at Wayne State University.
So what we have here is a chronograph. And what happens is the projectile breaks the first beam of light, travels a foot, and breaks the second beam of light. From there, we can get our velocity. The projectile then comes and impacts the 3-rib device, which has displacement sensors, which allows us to actually measure how much deflection we get from the ribs.
What we're really interested in seeing is, does the Beretta round keep the same kinetic energy at 50 as it does at 230 feet?
Range is hot.
Hitting a target 6 inches square at 50 feet isn't a problem for a professional, but would the impact kill? The test shows that the projectile hit with an impact of around 211 miles an hour, giving it enough energy to deliver sharp pain and a nasty bruise, but well within the less than lethal limit.
What do you think?
Yeah, it looks like it cracked the pad.
Now we move the target downrange to 230 feet, almost 5 times the distance. Normally, a blunt trauma weapon that works at a range of 50 feet would be useless at anything like this range. The round would slow down and probably drop to the ground before it even reached the target. But with Beretta's constant kinetic energy system, the result should be exactly the same, no matter what the range. Now let's find out if they're right.
That's a direct hit right in the middle.
Now, we get to see what happened.
Even at this distance, the Beretta's accuracy allows me to hit the target first time. But again, it's how hard I hit the target that counts. Now, Cynthia is ready to tell us whether the constant kinetic energy system lives up to its name.
So we just got done processing our results from both tests, from our 50-foot test and our 230-foot test. What's quite amazing is that our kinetic energy stayed constant. So what you see here are the two plots. The red plot would be the test from 50 feet, and the blue plot would be the test from 230 feet. So as you can see, they're very similar in nature.
The second round hit with a velocity of around 231 miles per hour, only slightly more energy than the first, and still well within the less than lethal limit.
I've worked with less lethal technologies for a number of years, and I've never seen a round that is so consistent and can go from the 50 feet out to the 230 feet without changing its kinetic energy.
At this point, it is a prototype. We are working on some changes to the ergonomics of the gun, the weight of the gun, the size of the gun, to make it even more user-friendly and easier to use.
Beretta's design is a gigantic leap forward for less than lethal weapons technology. This is one prototype that aims to make a big impact in a future less than lethal world. Next, it's time to stun the bad guys with the latest flashbang technology. And then, the newest shocking development from Taser. In a combat situation, even the slightest tactical advantage can stack the odds in your favor. And one of the simplest ways to gain that advantage is to catch the enemy by surprise.
Whether you're the law enforcement agent that has to serve that high-stakes warrant now, or the infantryman that has to enter that building in a war-torn country, what you need more than anything is the element of surprise. And this little device right here could be the difference of whether you survive that situation or not.
Flashbangs are non-lethal explosive devices specifically designed to divert your opponent's attention for one vital moment, just long enough for you to take control of that situation.
Get on the ground!
And history has shown just how effective they can be. In May 1980, terrorists seized the Iranian embassy in London, holding hostages inside. The British SAS were forced to deal with this extremely volatile situation. It was one of the first times this kind of diversionary device was deployed in a major real-life situation, and the results speak for themselves. The SAS were able to successfully storm the building, take out the terrorist, and rescue all the hostages alive.
It disorients them long enough that we can get a tactical advantage over them before they realize that we're there.
Now, ALS Technologies have taken the proven flashbang concept to the next level. In fact, their new generation of high-powered flashbangs, the 400 series, is so advanced, they don't call them flashbangs anymore. They call them stun munitions.
Why do you need different kinds of distraction devices?
Commander William Brown is head of Roswell Police Special Operations Unit.
In my opinion, as situations escalate, you should escalate the size of the device that you're using to increase the lag time that you have to get in on top of somebody.
The 400 series uses the flash powder equivalent of 1/8 of a pound of TNT to create a sudden burst of heat, light, and up to 185 decibels of ear-splitting noise. But the fast burn effect creates very little blast, so actual damage is kept to a minimum.
In The Art of War, Sun Tzu said, all warfare is based on deception. Magic itself is based on misdirection. For flashbangs to continue to be an effective tactical option, they too also have to evolve. It gives you all the surprise of a traditional flashbang, but it comes in a neat, flat little package. How you deploy it is up to you. Here, we're sliding it under a door.
Remote detonation by wire allows me to place the blast strip exactly where it's needed, then get to a position of cover before I choose precisely when to set it off.
I'm a little curious to see what's going to happen. Off safe. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, fire. Look at that. All that flash, all that bang, is a nice little, neat little strip.
Although the energy of the blast is intentionally limited, the strip still has enough power to do more than just create a diversion.
What we have here is the tactical blast strip used as a breaching tool. We placed a bag of water here to tamp the charge and drive all of the energy through the door. We'll see what happens.
The bag of water is a simple and effective way of directing all of the blast where I want it, in this case, toward the lock.
Time to take a little bath. 3, 2, 1, fire in the hole. Well, definitely worked. And you can see that very easily I can walk through the door now. Piece of cake.
Now it's time to see the 400 series in action. Here's the scenario. Armed terrorists are holding 2 hostages inside a building. It's up to the Roswell Special Operations Unit and me to get them out safely. I'm going to take care of the back door with a tactical blast strip. At the same time, my buddy's going to hit the front door with the mother of all flashbangs. The Magnum 470 stun grenade does more than divert your attention. Just one of these is powerful enough to take care of a space the size of an entire concert hall. The bad guys are finished, and the hostages are rescued without a single shot being fired.
ALS Technologies family of flashbangs. I think I'll give them a ringing endorsement.
Coming up, this non-lethal weapon takes shock tactics to the limit. And This is the very latest version, Taser fired from a standard shotgun.
Okay, so this comes out, this comes in. I'll make sure my hands are out of the way.
Correct.
Now, here's something you don't get to do every day. I'm about to zap this willing volunteer with 50,000 volts.
What we have in this situation is Tony. He's going to come at me, but the fact that he has a lethal weapon in the space of just a few feet, he could actually kill me. And right now, I have a less than lethal option in my hand. Will it make the difference? Here we go.
What company has created the most popular less than lethal option on the planet?
Let go of the knife! Let go of the knife!
The answer is Taser International, and their innovative product is the X26. In a dangerous situation without other options, shooting a hostile individual may be your only recourse. That's why less than lethal weapons need to exist. And the Taser X26 electro-stun system is one of the most effective alternatives ever invented. This beautifully sophisticated device uses high-voltage electric shocks to totally incapacitate a target by hijacking his central nervous system. It's immediate, it's overwhelming, and it instantly stops violent situations like these from escalating into deadly ones.
Do you want to comply?
Yes.
This is less than lethal technology at its very best.
Once you take a hit, until you take that hit, man, that's when they say, holy, this really can do what it said it's supposed to do.
You felt it all the way through, didn't you? Beyond a shadow of a doubt.
That was a good ride.
We have yet to see the guy who can take this and just walk through it.
It totally locks up your muscles. You can't do anything.
We're giving the bullet an overhaul. We think 50 years from now, the world's going to be a very different place.
Just like that. Go from one situation where the guy has a lethal weapon to a situation where the guy no longer wants to do damage to you. Thanks, Tony.
Anytime.
Up against a real aggressor, even an experienced officer can hesitate before firing a live round, and that can cost him his life. With Taser, there's no need to hesitate. I'm at Mystic Training Center, located in Roswell, New Mexico. And the men from Taser have flown in to give me a demonstration of their latest technological breakthroughs.
If most people had the option to defend themselves and not kill somebody, I think they'd take it.
Neurobiologist Rick Smith is one of the co-founders of Taser International. He's been instrumental in developing this technology.
And I saw a major opportunity to save a lot of lives and to meet a real need, because we all want to feel safe, but generally we don't want to take a life to do it.
So let's take a closer look at the Taser effect and how it works.
There you go. Stay a little bit closer to him. All right, because I don't want him to. You know the game you guys used to play when you were little? Trust each other? Trust each other. It is a difficult thing to take a life. And every life you take stays with you.
Taser International's chief instructor is Hans Marrero, a highly decorated Marine veteran with extensive combat experience.
So if you can make something that can actually enhance life and give somebody another chance, a life, it's a great thing.
All right, my man Eric right there. He's a big guy, very athletic. He's ready to do some nasty business. Hans, give him the solution.
Let go of the knife! Jamie, get back! Cross your leg, quickly!
Like the big man I zapped earlier, Eric is a willing volunteer.
Eric, you all right?
Very good.
Did you feel like you had to comply?
Oh, without a doubt.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you doing this for us.
My pleasure.
Okay, and just like that, in seconds, he had this guy completely under control and very compliant.
Many less than lethal weapons rely on inflicting pain to modify the target's behavior. But under certain circumstances, or with enough training, pain can be mentally blocked out. The X26 delivers 19 highly efficient electrical pulses every second to override the body's central nervous system, causing the muscles to lock up uncontrollably. And believe me, there's nothing you can do about it. It's one hell of a ride.
Let go of the knife! Roll over your stomach!
Pain won't stop somebody like you who's very focused, who's got military training. They can fight through it. But if we take away your ability to control your muscles, the game's over. You can't fight through it. In fact, the more muscular you are, the harder you're going to fall.
The electrical pulses are delivered by 2 barbed probes, launched with compressed gas, which pierce the skin at 160 feet per second. The probe stays connected to the X-26 by thin wires, which instantly deliver a 5-second burst of taser energy.
All right, so these are the darts, right?
Those are the darts. The way you pull this out is very simple. You cut the wire here. You tell the individual just relax. You grab it and you give a quick pull as fast as you can. From here, just like that.
Amazingly, the probes don't even have to touch the skin. Even through clothing, the electrical energy arcs like lightning to deliver its punch to the body and drop the target to the deck.
That effect is called neuromuscular incapacitation. And trust me, once you're tagged, your body doesn't belong to you anymore. At close quarters, even the most violent and dangerous aggressors become powerless. Until now, the taser effect depends on wires to deliver its punch, and this limits its effective range to about 35 feet. Now, I'm about to see what taser has done to extend that range, revolutionizing the concept of a round in the process. And then place this device at a checkpoint, and if you need to get somebody's attention, no problem.
Hans, give him the solution.
In the world of less than lethal weapons, the taser system has an unrivaled track record in dealing with violent aggressors.
Let go of the knife!
Because it stays connected to the firing unit by wires, it is strictly limited to a range of 35 feet.
But that's not every application we need out there. A lot of our customers, particularly in the military, need to be able to engage out further.
So, how do you take what many people consider to be the greatest less than lethal option on the planet and make it even better? You turn it into the X-Rep, Extended Range Electronic Projectile. Now, you take all that capability and you can fire it out of a standard 12-gauge shotgun.
Packed with technology, the X-Rep is the most advanced projectile ever to be fired from a 12-gauge shotgun. Free from any restricting wires, it can reach out to roughly twice the distance of the X-26. And despite its tiny size, it packs the same taser punch and shocks just a little longer than its predecessor.
We think that this is revolutionary. If you think about it, the primary means of resolving interpersonal conflict or the primary means of personal protection for the last 400 years has been the bullet. Well, we're giving the bullet an overhaul. Now we're not just talking about throwing a small piece of lead at somebody. We're talking about throwing a very high-tech integrated weapon platform that can spin stabilize in flight, that can reach a target accurately, that can impact, deploy electrodes, and deliver taser neuromuscular incapacitation at extended ranges. We think 50 years from now, the world's going to be a very different place because of this device. This was going to change everything.
To create the X-Rep, Taser took the key components from their highly successful X-26 and managed to pack all that and more inside the standard 12-gauge shotgun cartridge. Powered by a miniature battery as small as the one found in your wristwatch, this X-Rep engine generates the same concentrated electrical pulses as its big brother. These microelectronics are automatically switched on as the projectile exits the gun barrel, initiating the pulse cycle. An instant later, 3 spring-loaded fins pop out to spin stabilize the round. On impact, the nose section of the unit embeds into the target, but the back of the unit separates, staying attached by Kevlar wires. As it falls, the pendulum force from the rebound swings the second set of electrodes onto the target. This creates a larger area for the pulses to work on, spreading out the electrical shock.
The technologies you can imagine to make this happen was a lot of work. We had to take everything in these taser devices and shrink it down to this.
That's incredible.
This is the X-Rep engine. It's smaller around than a dime, weighs less than a nickel, 2.4 grams, yet the electrical output of this tiny little electronic module can drop the largest, scariest people on the planet.
But all that technology is useless if it doesn't hit the target. How easy is it to hit a human-sized silhouette with an X-Rep at the maximum effective range of 65 feet? It's very accurate and shockingly easy to use.
I'll tell you what, not only do you get the blunt trauma of this thing hitting you in the chest, boom, pop, hits you, then this thing swings down, catches inside, Now all that voltage is swimming through the body.
The greatest concern that our military has today is being able to engage that suspect at a range that's safe for the warfighter.
Kevin Williams manages the development of government and military programs for Taser International.
This projectile is revolutionary in that respect. With the tools that they have today, the beanbag rounds of blunt impact munitions, maybe 50% of the individuals that they use those on are going to fight right through them, continuing that threat to the warfighter. Hopefully, this system will take that individual down on the first try and create that incapacitation so the warfighter has the upper hand.
What we want to do here is show the actual physical effects of what's going to happen once that round makes contact with the body.
On the firing range, I proved the XREP's accuracy. Back in the controlled environment of the test room, it's time to see its stunning capabilities.
Are you ready, brother? Thanks, man.
To save our buddy from a big bruise, we're going to trigger the pulse manually.
There you go. That's great right there. Boom. Perfect. Now, how did that feel?
My toes curled back to touch my behind.
Because the XREP is effective and accurate at twice the range of the X26, you have to cover more distance to apprehend the target once he's down. Not a problem. The designers have also increased the duration of its pulse cycle to a full 20 seconds.
You're done, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no way I can fight through that.
With 20 seconds, you've got enough time now to make an informed decision about how you're going to respond to that individual.
So, if the knockdown effect of the blunt trauma doesn't get you, then 20 seconds of neuromuscular incapacitation definitely will. A weapon like this is obviously going to be effective in any number of situations. But let's look at a typical scenario. After a robbery goes wrong in a busy shopping mall, this armed and dangerous man is cornered by the police. There is no way out. In desperation, he threatens the lives of innocent bystanders caught up in the chaos.
Nobody's going to hurt you.
It's a fast escalating, potentially deadly situation.
Get out now! Get out! Get out!
In the past, the only option for the police was to use lethal force to remove the threat without further endangering the hostages. Now, XREP gives you another option.
I'll kill him! I'll kill him!
The officers have a full 20 seconds to get control of the bad guy and end the threat.
Don't move. Don't freaking move.
The officers were able to fire without any fear of injuring innocent bystanders, and this guy is also completely unharmed, so he'll live to tell the tale to the judge.
With the X26 and the brilliant invention of the XREP, Taser is leading the way in less than lethal options.
Coming up, the amazing XNet can actually stop a speeding vehicle in its tracks. For military personnel manning a vehicle checkpoint, one of the most difficult situations is when a vehicle fails to stop.
To be on a checkpoint is a little nerve-wracking when you are either out on a gun or you are on the ground and you are within 5 feet of a vehicle oncoming.
Halt! You are now approaching a U.S. Army checkpoint. Proceed with caution. Slow down. Sir, stop your vehicle.
Operation Iraqi Freedom has proven that manned checkpoints are one of the places where coalition forces are at their most vulnerable.
There are all kinds of things you have to take into consideration at a checkpoint in a war zone.
Here's the dilemma. Even a vehicle that breaks through may contain civilians who don't know they're supposed to stop. If you're going to open fire, you only have a split second to make a life or death decision.
So, how do you determine a vehicle's level of intention long before you have to use deadly force?
To gain control of the situation, you have to bring the vehicle safely to a halt without harming the people inside. Easier said than done.
The point of this device is to definitely get your attention quickly. Just like that.
Spike strips, also known as stingers, have been around for about 10 years. They have one major drawback.
Tires are punctured, but the vehicle isn't stopped. And that's the limitation with today's technology.
And remember, those could be civilians inside that vehicle.
This deflates the vehicle tires. It does not stop the vehicle.
Eric Niver is a non-lethal system specialist for the U.S. Army.
The vehicle can continue on until it's on its rims.
Why is that such a dangerous situation?
Well, if you're at a checkpoint or an entry control point, you don't want a vehicle to get beyond you that might cause harm to the friendly forces on the other side.
In 1983, a truck carrying explosives burst through a checkpoint at the U.S. Marine Barracks in Beirut. Soldiers fired on the vehicle but were unable to stop it. 241 U.S. Marines, sailors, and soldiers were killed. Stopping a vehicle isn't as easy as you might think. That's why engineers have been working for the last 3 decades to come up with an effective solution.
The other deficiency on them is if the vehicle is equipped with run-flat tires, which are commonly available now, these will not work.
Yeah, you got hard rubber, gel in there, so that tire can keep going for another 50 miles.
50 miles, right.
And the solution to that problem? The X-Net.
This is the X-Net. It's a non-lethal vehicle arrestor.
One of the men behind the X-Net, Phil Dandy, explains the basic principle.
Pull this whole thing back. Okay. All right. So what we have are these 2 rows of very, very sharp spikes. They go into the car tyre, and they then wrap the net around both front wheels, and that vehicle is dead meat.
As we saw in our test with the spike strip, the car was still able to drive, even with conventional tires.
Now, to make this a little more challenging, we put run-flat tires on this vehicle. So, will the X-Net stop the vehicle in time?
The vehicle will be traveling at 40 miles an hour with tires that can't be flattened. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I'm kind of hoping for an arresting moment.
You gotta love that. That's awesome. He's trying to gun the engine right now to get away. X-Net got him trapped.
The X-Net easily brings the vehicle to a controlled stop within 60 feet. It's designed to make the car skid straight, so it's predictable, and that means it's safer. Once the spikes are embedded in the tire, they pull the net with them, which then tangles itself around the front tires, tying them up.
Last time, breezed right through here, turned the corner, was gone. Now, we got him halted. Now we can check him out, make sure he's no longer a threat.
You can clearly see that no damage is caused to the vehicle. If you're innocent, change the tires and you're on your way. If you're guilty, we got you. Stopping a car at 40 miles an hour is one thing. It's not just cars that try to run checkpoints. This Army 4-wheel drive weighs in over a ton.
Big knobby tires, bigger vehicle, weighs more. Better result, actually.
It may seem simple, but it's a highly sophisticated design.
The biggest challenge was getting a spike that will work against all tires, from very thin car tires all the way through to very thick truck tires.
Listen, a vehicle like this is perfect for hiding IEDs in, all kinds of bad, nasty stuff. When you can stop a vehicle like this, confidence. You know your checkpoint's going to be more secure. You're going to be taking care of your guys. You're going to handle that threat just like you're supposed to.
The X-Net is made from material called Dyneema. It's what deep-sea fishing nets are made from, and up here on dry land, it's perfect for catching cars.
This is a version for stopping, medium-sized trucks. We're developing future systems that will stop big trucks.
Kinetics test footage shows just how advanced this version of X-Net is.
It can be deployed manually with 2 soldiers pulling it from the side of the road. Alternatively, we're developing a remote deployment system. And we're hoping in the future to develop this further to actually be launched from helicopters.
Here at Fort Leonard Wood, the 463rd Military Police Company is on a checkpoint training exercise. They have just returned from a 12-month tour in Iraq, where they faced the dangers of manning a checkpoint on a regular basis.
That's part of what makes it hard, is that you don't know where the threats are coming from. You don't know when they're coming.
Sometimes a car wouldn't be paying attention or whatever. They'd just be looking down, messing with the kid's wife, whatever, they'd overshoot their boundaries.
It's in situations like this that non-lethal devices like XNet save lives.
Halt! You are now approaching a U.S. Army checkpoint. Proceed with caution. Slow down. Sir, stop your vehicle! Stop your vehicle! Stop! Stop! Stop!
It has saved lives. It fills the gap between letting a car go through a checkpoint and shooting the driver.
Anything that we can do from stopping the use of excessive force and show them that we are more there to help than to be a threat or a burden is key for me.
This is what non-lethal is all about. It's giving that middle response.